Hey everyone, welcome to Pretty Blunt. I am your host, Jaime Lipowitz. Today, I am joined by one of my favorites in the industry, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Dunn from 1922. I'm so excited to talk to you today. You have no idea. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's nice to finally be on the pod.
Well, we're going to get pretty blunt about some things today, unintended actually. We are coming out of a very busy cannabis week, cannabis month, lots of live events, lots of marketing activities. And you are really in the weeds. You are the guy who is running, cannabis delivery across Toronto. You're selling a fuck ton of weed. And I want to know, what's working? What isn't working?
Well, we're starting to figure it out. I think first and foremost, and it probably ties into what we want to get into here, it's designing for loyalty. I think 5 years into this is what you start to really understand is that loyalty isn't in a department. It's not an add-on. It's got to be a part of the system of what you do and a reason why people keep coming back. And the only reason why we're growing and doing so well 5 years in is because we built that foundation and they keep coming back. If they didn't come back, we don't have a business. I'm probably not alive. So it's been really interesting to shift that mental mindset of transactions, the traditional way of viewing, revenue, sales, those sorts of things going out the door. The only thing that I'm hyper fixated on, almost like obsessively, is loyalty. How do we give them a reason to come back? How do we delight you? That's becoming all the signal parts of the business. So we're really excited about that. And we've had some really great success as we've changed some of our strategies and our approaches with execution to be able to support that. Because at the start, you just need to make noise. You just got to drive transactions and everyone knows that in the field. But once you kind of get to a point where you have a customer base of around probably 2,000 to 3,000 active purchasers, the business really starts to work. And then from there, it's just about frequency and trying to use marketing tactics to try to upsell, cross-sell, and but really the pursuit for anyone in my kind of situation, whether you're one store or 100, is trying to get to that 2,000 to 3,000 loyal customer base. And however way you see fit to go do that. And then from there, you're kind of off to the races. So we're happy with our position and where we sit right now.
You mentioned, listening to the signal and then also creating a lot of noise around you. There's a lot of noise happening in the industry right now, lots of chatter, lots of events, lots of things happening. Do you think that's just noise, or do you think that is a signal to get over the hump, drive consumers down the funnel and into your retail shop?
Yes and no. It's just as we grow and we evolve, I'm of the belief that producers still need to invest in engagement, but they're really investing in silos and not the customer. And in 2020, 21, 2022, it made sense to me why you would invest into your distribution channel. You're going to staff it, you're going to educate it, you're going to promo it, you're going to free sample it, you're going to trick or treat bag it. Cool. Those are all the foundations and the building blocks as a relationship tries to get cemented and founded. But the challenges in 2025, we're way past that. And it feels like we're going to this, we're in that new infancy. We've been conceived. So what playbooks make the most sense for a marketing department or a C-level executive suite to go to try to make noise and drive money? So inducements, discounts, rebates, all that shit. And I get it's hard. You're trying to pivot multi-million-dollar organizations with marketing executives, sales executives. You're trying to pivot something that was pointed in one direction, and we're trying to fundamentally get alignment on sell-through. If you have a marketing department and you have a sales department and you have executives and directors and managers and support staff and the accompanying budgets to support those org structures, I need them to talk to customer. I need them to be going to the customer, not just stopping to me as the distributor as where the silo stops and starts. I think there's some LPs that are really starting to figure it out and really started to challenge the status quo in the thinking, which is super exciting to be a part of. I love it. For me, the first stress test on the road to sell through is if they're with you guys. If you're really committed to wanting to help me drive frictionless transactions, great customer conversations and loyalty, they're investing into the buds. Because fundamentally, that's everything that I need as an operator to try. That's the problem that we're trying to solve for. So the people that are investing those dollars in that marketing spend and showing it over to you, that to me is the step one foundation of being we need the industry to have a better foundation on these products, why they're important, how you have conversations with customers. We're in the midst of a transitional kind of shift. And I think you and I see a lot of the same things, a lot of the playbooks that's working, not working. And I think we both have pretty strong views on how to get there faster.
Agreed. You mentioned LP's investment in High Buds Club, which obviously I love the shout out. But I want to flip the question a little bit and I want to flip the script on you. So, investing in Budtender education, we both agree, like good use of spend. How does sending reps into your store help you sell more weed? Does it?
No,
Does it incentivize you to buy more of that brand's products?
it could. Yeah. I think there's just a bit of framing because we kind of get caught in this catch-all a little bit. So like I would say anyone that's mature, anyone that's been 5 years and open, I don't think investing those sales dollars into someone like us that have been around that long, there's no ROI. I know who you are. I know your products. I know what delights customers, and I know how much margin I can extract from you. Do I necessarily need a sales rep coming in to do that? Maybe, maybe not. But like their function should be more designed for the people that are going into stores that are a little more in the intro phase, that are trying to build their customer base and really help them give that nudge. But like as a retailer, my only function by definition, the only thing we control is margin extraction. I don't make a product. I don't have supply chain benefits. I don't have volume benefits. My only job is to buy low, sell high. Fundamentally, regardless of the product, that is just the mechanics and the structural part of being a retailer in today's day and age. That is the game.
Well, so we agree on that. We most certainly agree on that. But I would say that there's a vast majority of the retailers in this country who don't agree with that, who believe that their vendor, being the licensed producer, is the place where they're meant to make their money because the market is saturated. You said they rent the margin, they don't own the margin. And I think that that's really good framing for me mentally of like what is actually happening. I think it's a different game that they're playing. You're actually trying to sell weed to customers and they're trying to keep a business afloat by their vendors paying for their lights.
I think there's two ways to frame it. Like one is there's the business component. So yes, do I need help structurally with margin dollars to pay my bills? Yes, but that doesn't solve the problem of sell through, right? Like at the till, when it matters, does it get into the customer's hand frictionlessly, easily, educated wise, and make them want to come back? So I think that's where the industry really needs to start to delineate these best practices and where they're investing their time. Just because you'll pay me a shitload of money to put your weed on my shelf doesn't mean customers will buy it, right? Like doesn't mean it's easier for them. Doesn't mean they're going to like it anymore. Doesn't mean they have a high probability of coming back to me. It just meant I made a transaction and I made X% of margin off of that. But we're trying to build the actual system and the foundation that we can be clear on margin extraction. We can be clear on how this drives loyalty. And if inducements, relationships, promos, whatever events come to, those to me are, those are the cherry on top. Those are the nice to haves. That's the gravy. But like fundamentally, I can't scale and run a business predicated on short-term thinking. And I think that it's a structural risk for any of the players in big cannabis because like as soon as those dollars go, what happens?
I don't know what the time horizon is. It might be 6 months. It might be 6 years. It might be 16 years. Like I genuinely don't know, but it will change.
Well, I mean, like big cannabis has the ability, the means, and the dollars to vertically integrate white labeling their own products. They know what they sell functionally, right? Like if they wanted to, they could get down to a category and a SKU level and they could understand their run rates and they could start designing, manufacturing, and microprocessing their own products because they can guarantee they're going to sell it on the other end. Like I'm going to sell 100 kilos of this in 50 of our stores. Why wouldn't we just make it for ourselves and try to make the margin on the other side? Well, we can guarantee we're going to sell it on the other end in distribution. So like a lot of these LPs have structural risk to the retailers becoming more self-sufficient and feeding their own customer bases if they're not going to get the support the other way back. Like it's just the way that the business will end up evolving with or without us.
Well, right, because you own your customer. The difference is that when you own your margins and you don't rent them, you know who your customers are, you know what makes them tick, you know what they like, you know what delights them, you understand what keeps them coming back and loyal to you.
Frame it as you need 2,000 to 3,000 people per location, regardless if you're one store or you're 200. Like the math tracks. So it's like, that's the goal you're trying to get to. Like, how do you get to 2,000 active customers?
It requires, the person in charge, the adults in the room, to think critically about the problem that they're trying to solve and then come up with a solution for it. Making broad brush statements like we're going to dominate Canada and, be the Coca-Cola of weed. You don't even have the preliminary steps to be able to know how to get there. And I think that is just going back to what we were talking about earlier. That's the difference between signal and noise. knowing what the signal is telling you and following it, because the noise might matter in a year, might matter in 2 years, but it doesn't matter today.
I feel for having to make big bets right now. I feel for having to make organizational changes and trying to pivot around. If you're for anyone in an executive capacity, like I'm hoping they're obsessing about the next 3-year plan, right? And really 5 years of like, how do I get here today? Where are we going to be by 2030? But I think you guys represent, to me, this really beautiful structural middle ground. It's kind of like, I would equate it to like a grade 6 dance. The guys are on one side, the girls on the other, and we're just staring back at each other. Like, that's what my relationships with LPs I would describe as, maybe a little hyperbolic to prove the point, but that's how I would view my relationship with them. And eventually we're just trying to get a little, like, I understand more of their world, they understand more of my world, but you guys are this beautiful bridge point to bring that pathway of like, how do I get a product to market and how do I get it into the customer's hands? You guys are really, I see your value and how you guys are evolving, whether it's intentionally or not intentionally, but you're so much help bridging that gap. And I think that's what a lot of us need right now, is a reason to come together, to have common objectives, because I'm going to be self-serving to Mike. LPs are going to be self-serving, especially if you're publicly traded. Like, we have to be realistic with the pressure and the real tactical quarterly nuances that they have coming down their head. But you guys are this great bridge way of trying to influence that. How long do you think it will take before we can have a common objective of sell-through from seed to sale? Like, how far away do you think we are from having alignment on that level of thinking?
So it's so funny that you say that, because I started my business thinking that from day one, we would have alignment on seed to sale and getting products sold to customers. If you had told me then that I would still be banging this drum 6 years later and the mission wouldn't be complete, I would have told you were like delusional. So it's, I think my answer is slightly nuanced. I think that the brands who get it, and they are beginning to understand that they have to take care of the 4 pieces of the supply chain in order to get to the customer, in order to win. I think a lot of the LPs actually get in their own way in a lot of ways by paying these ridiculous data fees, by not investing in retailers who actually sell a lot of product. Like, I can think of about 10 independents who crush and do more business than like real business with real margins, not renting their margins from their LPs, who do real business that would lap a lot of the key accounts, but they appear to be bigger. So the answer to your question is that the industry will start to become aligned when ego gets put on the shelf. That's the first part. We stop competing with each other in places we don't need to compete, and we allow the subject matter experts to lead. So my biggest gripe is like, I'm not an LP. I'm not competing with anyone. I'm just here to help. Why on earth do you think you can do Budtender education better than I can?
Look, like, I'll speak from my and Brooke's perspective as someone aspiring to want to be in a category leadership position with someone that wants to be in that framing of being like an exceptional level operator. I will tell you right now, I do not have the bandwidth. I do not have the skill set to be able to invest into a bud tender the way that they need to be invested into. And in the past, it was hard because there was no offset. Now you guys are the offset. Like, there is no way in a perfect world I can have no ego on these things. I want to have exceptional people help me be exceptional. And like, for the first time, you guys are the bridgeway to do that, because like, I just don't have the time, guys. Like, I have so much going on in my world. Bud tender training, product knowledge to that level of detail that would have an impact is just maybe single digits of my capacity, capability, wants, and desires. And that's not good enough. That's not good enough for the bud tender. That's not good enough for the whole ecosystem. So the fact that you guys exist and can do it to a standard that really is the industry standard, like, you guys are setting the benchmark of what bud tender training, education, and conversation should be. And thank God you're doing it. Because like, that's not really an LP's job, nor is it really my job as the operator. It makes sense why you exist. But like, the work that you guys are doing and the community that you guys have cultivated, if anyone listening to this doesn't get it, like, get it. I have the app, guys. I haven't been on the app in 2 weeks. I have 9,000 notifications. 9,000 notifications of active bud tenders yapping, collaborating, talking, getting along, loving being a part of the industry, regardless of the institution in which they work for, values them, uses them, maximizes the knowledge. That community that you guys have created and cultivated it, like that OCS call you guys had. I'm shocked that it doesn't. Obviously, you guys do a great job of championing it and communicating it, but I'm sitting back as an industry lead being, is anyone not seeing this?
Well, they think that setting up a $100,000 booth and giving away 3,000 samples does the same thing.
Well, let's just like, fuck, yes. But like, yes, obviously.
I mean, that's
But
the
like,
reality, is that that's the same LP who's renting margins.
yes,
They're not
exactly. It's the
building real
playbook.
businesses and real brands. They're renting a margin. They're renting shelf space. They're making pennies to sell a pre-roll, and all their brand represents is the cheapest price, which therefore means it's replaceable. Yeah. And I mean, to that point, success, when I think about shopping, because there's a few things in the world I'm exceptional at, and shopping is one of them. When I think about shopping and spending money, when do I do it? I do it in places and spaces that I feel comfortable, that I like the energy, and that I trust what is being put in front of me. And that is the role of the salesperson in many places, but specifically the budtender in cannabis retail. And when the budtender is thought of as an afterthought and not the face of your retail brand, well, no wonder no one comes back and is loyal to your retail brand.
A lot of it, it's right in front of our face, how to stop the loop.
Yes, but the part of it is that we're all running at 1,000,000 miles a minute, and we're trying to get so many things done, and no one is actually stopping and going, how do I stop running around like a chicken with my head cut off and actually solve the problem?
I have 2 points of view. Like structurally, as a business, I would want a business structure from a marketing department to be able to impact a customer. Will we not agree that should be the function of marketing and sales support, or vice versa? Structurally, let's not get literal, but structurally, we would want an organization to be able to have that pathway. As an operator, I'm funding it, right? Like I fund every marketing organization's fancy VP title, every sales organization, every treat bag, every free sample, every goodie bag, every event. That's all those cost drivers are baked into wholesale, which I fund and buy, which I then have to pass through to a customer as I put my markup on. Now, retail, I'm not blaming, I'm not pointing fingers. Retail, we have our own fat and our own bullshit. Like if I signed up for a $30,000 rent, yeah, my customer is going to have to pay for that in margin. Like we have the same pressure point, so it's not like a versus thing. But I think the retail side's been so gutted that there's just no room to have any more of the fat. But I'm cautiously optimistic that some of these CFOs are really starting to have these structural conversations. And it may not have to be like a fear mongering thing, but it's just a slight pivot in objectives and reorganizing and recalibrating where and how we think about success. I get if you're a person from tobacco, alcohol, and you kind of go to the stereotypical CBT playbook, right? Discounts, inducements, rebates. Like I get it. That is the playbook.
Here's the thing. Everybody wants to compare cannabis to tobacco. They want to compare it to bev alc because they're regulated industries. Like when you compare apples to apples, the actual industry that cannabis is most like is beauty. And if you look at the Sephora model versus the dispensary model, it is actually quite similar. The customers, while they are different demographics and whatever, the customer archetypes are exactly the same. You have 3 customers that shop at Sephora. You have the same 3 customers that shop at cannabis retail. The customer that knows what they want, they go in, they grab it, they leave. The customer that knows the category that they want, but maybe don't know the brand or product, so they look for a recommendation. And then you have the customer who knows the category and the brand that they are potentially interested in, but they need to be validated by the subject matter expert. In these 3 scenarios, the last 2 both are predicated on a great experience with the Sephora cast member versus the budtender. It's the same role. You're just selling a red lipstick versus an infused pre-roll.
I have to have accountability as an operator to be able to understand that framework and execute against it. Like that's who I see as my customer. That's their journey. And I need to hold them through the line to get them there effectively and efficiently. On the LP side, I don't necessarily think I can hold them accountable for that level of thinking because that's kind of my responsibility at that point. The thing that I think alcohol has right, Ricardi, they don't sell their alcohol. Fundamentally, right? Like they have the similar setup. They make a product and they rely on empowering their distribution channel partners for velocity. So they have this partnership where all of the dollars get spent on activating and getting into the customer's hands. So like, I think more operators have to start thinking like what you just outlined with Sephora. Like that is our tertiary responsibility to be able to be like, are you new? Are you mid? Are you high? Or are you self-serve? Like however you want to frame it. And you can, bud tenders understand how to navigate each one of those 4 different customer types is probably the easiest way. But on the LP side, for the spend side, bring me the customers in. Let's use the alcohol examples of how they activate events, sponsorships, partnerships, reasons for you to come into 1922, and I can leave with something coming out of you, preferably your product. But from a relationship standpoint, if they focused more on that and the operators focus more on the Sephora concept, you think you plug the two together, I think that's where we become very strong. If we can get to that sort of foundational framework, like Canada will be best in class in the world from seed to sale. Like I think we're already ahead in kind of figuring those things out, but it's just going to take a couple smart C-level executives to really have some uncomfortable moments. Same for me. Like I've had to have some very uncomfortable moments in the last 5 years about what I aspire to want to be versus what I am. And I have to come to grips with my margin structure, with what this business is and what it will never be. And it is effectively an identity crisis. You got to cross it though. It's like, hey, no more bullshit. This is what we are. This is our identity. This is where we're exceptional. And this is where we're going to have to build our path to go forward. Subsequently, for the LPs, they're going to have that really, 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 really tough time. And I think it's the better ones are having it right now. Like they're squirming in their seats right now because not making a decision is still making a decision, and still funding yesterday's playbook is still making the wrong decision. Right decision going forward, I think, is this is the conversation to help springboard some of what are the alternative pathways to success. And the beautiful thing is, 2 yappers like us and Sabine, we kind of have a foundational way of being like, why aren't we exploring this? Like, if I were to ask any single LP the amount of structure of where there's a conversation of how much product got sold out of a given dispensary, it's probably single digits.
Yeah, I mean, but the reality is that the Budtender is not invested in as a vehicle for sell through. So you ask the average Budtender, they don't even know retail basics like what a UPT is. They're not focused on owning margins, and upselling, adding things to the transaction, getting to the 30-gram limit, all these sort of basics that should be like training 101. So
why do you think that you don't have 100% share in any given dispensary?
I'll tell you, because like every brand, we're not for everybody. Yeah. So like, I'll give you an example. Okay. 10 budtenders will sign up to join High Buds Club because, they heard about us somewhere, someone in their store told them, whatever the reason is, we've gotten them to the website to apply to join High Buds Club. Okay. 3 of them will never log on ever a day in their life. They'll never get onto the platform. Another 3 of them are transient. They want the free weed. They don't really care. They're not interested in a career per se in cannabis. Like they're just there for the paycheck and then they're gone. It's the final 4. So 40% of the people who apply to High Buds Club are valuable members to the community. And then I think by proxy, as a result, valuable budtenders to their stores because they're engaged. They want to learn, they want to grow, and they want to be in the industry. I just want to also call this out. When Susan from HR tells you that you have to take your spiffy module, no one wants to be forced to learn about things.
And I think that's, as an operator, if you don't want to be that, then you're out. Because there's a lot of people that want to fucking work. And there's a lot of people great. And there's a lot of people that just want to suck the life out of the free coattail ride that is cannabis. And I'm tired of that. I'm no longer perpetuating it. I'm not participating in it. We're in a blessed scenario where a lot of people ask us for jobs on a daily basis. And it's very clear who would be realistic and who's not. I have no problem talking about publicly traded companies and their data. So they're fair game, right? So let's take Canalytics from Canna Cabana. $38 million a quarter is what they're generating in Canalytics. Their EBITDA is $36 million. They generate $38 million in sponsorship and kickbacks, which is effectively almost 100% of what their EBITDA dollars generate as a business. You take that plug away, you have mass bankruptcy, instant insolvency. And the worst part about it is that like it's so buried in the financials, it's so buried in the adjusted EBITDA metric that like no one's going down to the fine print to be like, oh, this whole retail proof of concept model is literally propped up by LPs paying to have shelf space. If we didn't have that structural view of it, like you're one regulatory change away from bankruptcy. Independents do enough to create, like, shout out to like Owen at Highland and some of these guys. Like, these guys go wherever it sits in a regulatory, whether that's AGCO, Health Canada, wherever the kind of the madness sits, the amount of inducement, predatory pricing kind of like mechanisms. But you have Canna Cabana, you know, we create a lot of noise, but effectively we're a single person shop. But it's just that because they have the lawyer work and because they have the competency, they can navigate it and they can call it advertising or sponsorships, however you want to frame it. But like structurally, you're not really running the foundation off a business off of something that can survive on its own. Okay.
I think if you look at their books objectively and you remove all bias, what I would read, I would say that they are a company that sells data. They are not a company that sells cannabis to customers. So inherently it is misaligned. Like you're, as you put it, you're renting your margins. And I mean, I am of the belief that a business by definition is an asset that when utilized properly spins off cash flow. But they're in the business of selling data. It's not that they're not in a business. They're just not in the business that they are presenting themselves as.
I agree with everything you're saying. Sometimes I'm just dumbfounded with like how the biggest players in the retail side got to 200 locations.
Sephora is a multinational, best-in-class beauty retailer. It took them a long time operating in Europe to even come to Canada, okay? Brick by brick. They came to Canada 22 or so years ago, and it has taken them over 20 years to get to 100 stores. How did it take Pops Fika under 5 to get to 300 stores?
Without a system built, without the IT structure, without an online e-com presence, without a last mile strategy, and really, and I feel for the Budtender.
But let's look at an income statement. They have what, 200 stores or something now? Like that? 200 odd stores? 200 plus stores under 5 years. How? Well, they sell data. They don't sell weed to customers. Sephora sells beauty products to consumers.
Well, that's why they're there for the long term. Like they're set up for literal longevity. Like Sephora's set up to be around for the next 100 years.
Sure, you can go to Holt Renfrew. You can go to like a Mac store. You can go to the Shoppers Beauty, department. Like there are retailers that do sell other beauty products, of course, but there's one huge retailer that has 100 stores and services Canada. Do we really need 1,800 stores in Ontario that sells data and hardly sells any weed? Who's holding the bag?
Well, the customer.
Right? The customer. And I would also argue the independent retailers, because the independent retailers, to your earlier point, are buying weed from the producers, which funds their bottom line, which allows them to behave stupidly and spend $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, $2 million a year on data.
So like, what is the objective of an inducement? All you're illustrating to me is that you're fundamentally priced wrong at wholesale. You're not priced for velocity at wholesale. So you want to come in and spend money on a department to cherry pick select individuals and run something different. You don't need to pay for shelf space if you give me room for margin.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second.
That is the crux of this conversation is, do you have to bribe me and rent it? Or could you fundamentally actually just give me the halfway? Let's just take $20. Let's say I have a random flower unit. It's $20 in wholesale. So I'm spending $20. What Mike wants to hear back is how Mike can turn that into $40 at retail. Because what Mike wants to hear for his business is I can spend dollar in for dollar out. Like that to me, regardless of the product, let's not get romantic. Let's just view it as a widget, like widget in, widget out. That's the dream scenario Mike wants to talk about. So what Mike has no time for is to spend $20 to sell it for $25 at retail. My job is to make margin. You left me literally not a penny. And you want to send a sales rep in here and give me more samples and give me more t-shirts and more swag bags and more kind events and more just access, when all I need, guys, is for your wholesale to be like 17, be 15. Leave me something where I can eat. And I will love you forever, because that is my tertiary job as a retailer, is to extract margin while delighting a customer. It's a very simple problem we're trying to solve for. But yeah, we get too cute on the wholesale side because all the blow and all the dollars are fundamentally stuck upstream. Every single dollar stuck upstream. But fundamentally, you have to leave me room to eat. And if you don't leave me room to eat, I have 5,000 SKUs on the OCS in Ontario right now that I can pick from, that I can extract margin from, that I think still delights the customer to the same level of quality and will still bring them back for loyalty. I'm just going to have to pick a different path. So to me, inducements, dollar sponsorship, it's just noise to me. Fundamentally, if there's gravy on top, cool. But I'm never going to discount the price because you gave me a kickback. Like you gave me $3 down. I'm not lowering retail by $3 because you gave it in to me. I'm taking that money and I'm going to reinvest it into training. I'm going to reinvest it into loyalty, whatever's going to make the experience better and making the team and the staff better. Like that's where I would fund those dollars. I wouldn't just all of a sudden just have it as a path through to a customer because they were coming back anyway.
Because you're a real operator and they like the service and you're designed for loyalty. They're not coming back because the price was the price.
No, and they don't care what the price was, frankly. We get too scared about that because that's the problem with merchandising. I don't think anyone could tell me definitively giving customers more information inside of a store leads to them spending more money. Have all the TVs, you can have all the displays, you can have all the THCs, you can have all the specials, the deals, the da 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 da.
Cannabis, though, is one of those convenience things.
The widget going in and out of a store. Like think about the bottom tier of your Sephora example. Transact. I'm pretty sure you and Sabine don't take long coming in and out of Sephora. If I had a stopwatch, are you in and out of there within 3 minutes? If you're on a mission?
If I know what I am buying, only reason I'm there any longer is because the checkout is longer than 3 minutes.
If they didn't have that structural problem, like effectively you're in and out in minutes.
If I'm rebuying something, that I've bought before, I'm not even going into Sephora. I'm buying it on the app and it's at my door in 24 hours. Like your business is no different. What did you say? Your whole thing is delivery that's fast and that's free and reliable. So what? You're there within under half hour. Your promise to your customer. So if I'm at home and I don't want to leave my house, like I've done this for food a million times, I'll spend $10 more to get it delivered because I want it now and I don't want to think about it. But a lot of this industry makes it so precious that it is this thing that everybody needs to experience and the Apple store. And it's like, it's just a fucking joint.
When you've spent millions of dollars, like you want to flex your wings. But it's like what customer in what scenario, when is it needed?
Part of it is acknowledging that maybe you bet wrong. Maybe you thought this was going to be something. It goes back to signal and noise. What does the signal tell you is needed immediately? What is needed today, tomorrow, in the next 48, 72 hours to get you, to meet your payroll, to do the things? Versus what is the noise that is just a distraction? And so much of this industry, like, when I think about the excess of last week and the amount of money that was spent, not only on the day, but in payroll to prep for the day, in shipping costs to build these executions, in excise tax, for what? Noise.
I make 52 decisions a year to buy inventory. Every single time I see that wholesale number, I'm just in the back of my brain going, because for me to support an LP, like there really needs to be alignment, right? If I don't believe in you and I still buy you, I'm really just effectively enabling you and enabling bad decisions over and over and over again. But you know what the interesting thing is? My mind frame really changed about a year ago. And you don't hear me whinge about this shit, but like I had 3 illicit guys park within 100 meters of us in the last year. And I had another legal guy who we eventually just knocked out. But once I got over the ego and all the bullshit, and I systematically evaluated how they operate, like as a mechanism structurally, the biggest aha was their ability to drive simple, fast transactions. Think about it. You go into a medicine wheel, there's probably 5 to 8 strains, a couple chocolates, a couple vapes, a couple pre-rolls. And most of the people, if you were to hold a stopwatch, they're probably in and out of there in less than a minute. I don't have an ego, and Brooke and I had to look ourselves in the mirror and be like, they are very good at that. How do we steal from that and apply it to us? $5 joint, $10 joint, $20 bag. I see a $20 bill in their hand before they've even walked up the stairs to get to us, I already have it waiting for you. I'll put it through the POS later. Just get you in, get you, because I know that's what you actually want. And the people that want to yap will come in and yap. And then that's where you have to flex your muscles. But it's the ability to understand the different types of customers and the experiences and the transactions they're looking for, because it's complex. Because you're basically just trying to train someone to be one size fits all. You're a bit Cinderella in that way. And maybe like 2-3 years ago, you could get away with that. But in today's day and age, the way that you have to be so dynamic, again, it goes back to the principle. Like if you're 2,000 loyal customers that buy weed, like how are you getting to 2,200? Like how are you, what is the way that you're going to achieve that? Because every time you add an existing customer to that active base, your daily averages pull and flow through with it. So like to me, that's the problem. Like if you remove all the noise and you just look at the signal pieces and you're like, what is the signal here? It's like, okay, like have to be adding to this repeat buying base. And once you can figure that out, you can all your tactics, all your strategy, all your staffing, all of the place that you want to point that energy will start to hopefully become a little clearer for people. But it's just hard navigating all of that noise. But to me, like it's dead clear on where we are and where we're going, and there's no confusion to me whatsoever. It's more just the pursuit of achieving it. And how long is it going to take us?
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, as I love to say, but it was worked on every day. And I think that what I'm noticing is that our tolerance for stupidity and bullshit, the cycle of that is much shorter now than it used to be. So bullshit could happen and it would take like a year to clear out. Now it's like 30 to 60 days and we're on to the next cycle of like something stupid. Where I think the biggest shift needs to change, though, is everybody has to start getting focused on their customer. Who is this for? Why do they care about it? Why is it valuable to them? And how is it priced right for their lives? And I think if we can all get aligned to that, as well as this idea of owning margins and not renting them, to your excellent point, I think the industry shifts and it changes and it becomes an industry that real operators can participate in and be proud of.
I think the distinction here is important because it's designed for margin, right? It's not just like, oh, I bought something for 20 and it looks like I only made $5. It's like, no, I'm designing for the fact that it has to be for 20 and I have to sell it for 35 at the till. With tax ends up being 40. We're so close, but it's just one slight mental mind shift. It's just literally turning a dial slightly in a different direction in the trajectory of experience, performance, and everything else. I think we talk a lot like it's ambiguous and we don't exactly know what to do. Like we're just a couple fucking dial switches away from getting it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is as soon as we stop funding bullshit, we become a real industry.
It's uncomfortable because it's like, and I'll use a little Zachary George line that he used at Grow Up. It's like the same people that got you here may not be the same people that get you out of here. We'll see how long that takes to change, because either you're going to have to grow and evolve on your existing ideologies, which we all have to bob and weave, or you're going to be replaced and the next person coming in is going to be tasked with solving for it. And I think we're at that inflection point right now where like you can't really coast anymore with the pressure. Now, a lot of LPs have gotten a pressure release because of the exporting vanity and the exact pull through and performance. Like, so that to me has gotten them a bit distracted, because fundamentally, when you tell me you want to tell me about exporting, what I translate that to is you're not committed to solving the recreational Canada problem. You're just distracting yourself for immediate quarterly gains because you're publicly traded. Get it, got it. Don't envy that position. But fundamentally, you can't dodge how to sell recreational cannabis in Canada. Can't dodge that.
You're talking about licensed producers that are like the Tin Man. They have no heart. They have no reason for existing.
Like, I think why you and I and Brooke and like-minded people are having success because we're founder-led. There's a different energy to a builder versus a manager, and that's no disrespect. Everyone owns a lane and everyone is exceptional, and those are just different skill sets. But fundamentally, a hired gun CEO is just that. You didn't build it. You didn't put your life on the line. You didn't have sleep. Like, you have a weekend, bro. How's your weekend? How's your 3-week, 4-week holiday going? I work 165 days a year, stressed out of my mind in the pursuit of getting somewhere. And like, we will never have an energy alignment. We will never have a vision alignment, because to you, this is a job.
We talk about this a lot, the ability to like hang with founders and like just the sort of energetic differences that come, like being this type of crazy ass person. But like you have to be like literally psychotic to do this. I am going to wrap this up. Mike, I appreciate you endlessly and thank you for joining me.
Love everything you guys are doing. I hope there's a lot of producers listening to this. Get your dollars right, get your priorities right, get into this ecosystem that you guys have, because this is the real signal. This is what's really going to drive the industry forward, not the vanity. I will leave on that.
Enough said. Thanks for
Enough said.
listening. Have a good
Bye,
day.
guys.